I didn't realize the hotel room had a second door until someone tried to open it at 3 in the morning. The night I checked in, everything felt slightly off in a way I couldn't explain. It was a roadside hotel I'd booked last minute after a long drive. It's the kind of place with buzzing fluorescent lights and a lobby that smelled faintly of old carpet cleaner. The clerk barely looked up when I gave my name. He slid the key across the counter, told me my room number, and added almost as an afterthought that housekeeping wouldn't be coming by in the morning. His tone suggested that wasn't a request. The hallway outside my room was quiet in that hollow, padded way hotels always are. My footsteps sounded too loud, like I was interrupting something. When I opened the door, the room looked normal enough. Bed, dresser, small desk, bathroom tucked to the side. But there was a strange coldness in the air, even with the heater running. It felt less like air conditioning and more like a draft that shouldn't exist. I dropped my bag, locked the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. That's when I noticed the second door. It was on the wall opposite the bed, painted the same beige as everything else. At first I thought it was a closet, but there was no handle on my side, just a flat door with a deadbolt and a small metal plate beneath it. I told myself it probably connected to a maintenance corridor or an adjoining room. Plenty of hotels have those. Still, something about it bothered me. I walked over and pressed my ear against it. Nothing, just silence. I slept badly. Every sound pulled me halfway awake. Pipes ticking, something thumping somewhere above me, the low hum of electricity in the walls. Sometime after midnight, I woke up feeling like I wasn't alone. The room was dark except for the orange glow of the parking lot lights bleeding through the curtains. I lay still, listening. That's when I heard it. A soft click, like metal touching metal. It came from the second door. I sat up, heart already racing, staring at it. A moment passed, then another click, louder this time. The deadbolt on the other side was turning. I got out of bed slowly, my feet cold against the carpet. I didn't know what I planned to do. Yell, run, call the front desk. I stood there, frozen, watching the door handle on the other side jiggle slightly, as if someone was testing it. Then it stopped. I waited, barely breathing. After a long, quiet stretch, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Exhaustion does strange things. I locked the main door again, double-checked it, and went back to bed, keeping my eyes on that second door until I finally drifted off. In the morning, I went straight to the front desk. I asked about the second door in my room. The clerk frowned like he didn't understand the question. When I explained, he hesitated, then told me some rooms used to connect to old service areas that were sealed off years ago. Well, nobody has access anymore, he said quickly, like he wanted to end the conversation. I asked if anyone could have tried to open it from the other side. He shook his head too fast. No, he said, that's not possible. I almost believed him. That night it happened again. This time, it wasn't just the lock. I heard breathing, slow, deliberate, right on the other side of the door. Whoever it was didn't try to open it right away. It just stood there, breathing, like they knew I was awake and listening. I backed toward the main door, my phone in my hand, but I didn't call anyone. I don't know why. Maybe I was afraid of making noise. Maybe I didn't want to admit what was happening. The breathing stopped, replaced by a light scratching sound, fingernails dragging gently across the wood. Then a voice spoke. It was low and calm, so close it felt like it was inside my head. It said my name. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The voice said it again, more softly, like it was reassuring me. Then it laughed. Not loud. Just a quiet, amused exhale. Well, I didn't sleep after that. I sat in a chair facing both doors until the sun came up. I checked out early. I told the clerk I'd changed my plans. He nodded like he'd expected that. As I turned to leave, I noticed something behind the desk. A wall of old keys, dusty and unused. One of them had my room number on it. What? It wasn't on the hook. Picture this. A cozy fireplace, twinkling lights, the smell of pine and gingerbread. It's Christmas, and a familiar, mischievous kid is setting up traps. We all know this story, right? Home Alone, a classic holiday adventure. But what if the story we all know and love is just a cover-up? What if Kevin McAllister's biggest fear wasn't a couple of clumsy burglars, but something lurking in the shadows of his own home, something that was never caught on camera? What I'm about to share with you is a story that has been buried for decades, Story that twists the festive cheer of Home Alone into a genuine Christmas nightmare. We're going to peel back the layers of this beloved film and expose a chilling reality that has been hiding in plain sight. This isn't about booby traps and comedic gold. It's about a real-life event that happened on a cold Christmas Eve. An incident so disturbing it was scrubbed from public memory, replaced by a feel-good Hollywood blockbuster. It all starts with a forgotten police report from 1990, filed in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside Chicago. The report details a frantic 911 call from a young boy, home alone, claiming there was an intruder. But this intruder wasn't after the family silver. The boy's descriptions were bizarre, almost unbelievable. He talked about a figure that moved too quickly, presence that felt cold and unnatural, something that didn't leave footprints in the snow outside. The police arrived to find the house in disarray, but with no signs of forced entry. The boy was safe, but visibly terrified. The case was quickly dismissed as a child's overactive imagination, fueled by holiday excitement and being left behind. But that's where the official story ends, and where our investigation begins. What the police report didn't mention, and what has been kept under wraps until now, is what was found in the basement. It wasn't a furnace that looked like a monster. It was something that couldn't be explained. Investigators who were first on the scene spoke off the record about strange symbols, drawn on the walls, and a lingering scent of something ancient and foul. These details were omitted from the final report, chalked up to gas leaks or faulty wiring. But a few brave officers knew they had stumbled upon something truly sinister. This is where the confession comes in. Years later, one of the original responding officers, now retired, decided he could no longer live with the secret. He reached out to a small, independent journalist, risking his reputation and pension to tell the truth. He confessed that the department was pressured from higher up to close the case and bury the evidence. Why? Because the truth was too terrifying for the public to handle, especially during the Christmas season. The boy, whose real name has been protected, wasn't just left home alone. He was bait. According to this confession, the family had a history. A dark lineage connected to local folklore about a winter Antodia, shadow of the solstice, that was said to visit homes on the longest night of the year. This entity wasn't looking for presents. It was looking to feed on the fear of the isolated and the lonely. The McAllister family, or whatever their real name was, had a pact with this entity, a pact that was broken that year. Leaving their youngest son behind wasn't an accident. It was a desperate, horrific offering. The next time you watch Home Alone and laugh as Kevin outsmarts the wet bandits, remember the chilling story that inspired it? Remember the real boy who faced not two bumbling criminals, but a timeless, malevolent force. The traps, the screams, the clever tricks, they weren't for comedy. They were a child's desperate fight for survival against a Christmas nightmare that was all too real. The truth is out there, hidden between the frames of our favorite holiday movie. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe check your locks tonight. Imagine a school trip, not to a museum or a theme park, but deep into an isolated wilderness. What if that trip turned into a fight for survival against more than just the elements? These 3 animated stories aren't just spooky campfire tales. They're real horrors from school trips that went chillingly wrong. Our first story takes us to the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, a place of stunning beauty and deep, unsettling shadows. It was the spring of 1998, and a group of high school biology students were on a week-long excursion to study the local ecosystem. Their teacher, Mr. Albright, was an experienced outdoorsman who had led this trip for years. The first few days were normal identifying plants, sketching wildlife, and learning basic survival skills. But on the third night, the atmosphere shifted. It started with a sound, not a bear, not a wolf, but something that sounded like a distorted human voice, echoing from deep within the woods. The students nervously joked it was another group trying to spook them. Mr. Albright, however, looked genuinely concerned. He told everyone to stay in their tents and keep quiet. The sound grew closer, a strange guttural chattering that made the hair on their arms stand up. Then, a student named Sarah, who had gone to the edge of the campsite to use the makeshift latrine, came sprinting back, her face pale with terror. She said she saw it, a tall, unnaturally thin figure, moving between the trees, its limbs bending at impossible angles. It wasn't human. It wasn't an animal. It was something else. Panic began to set in. Mr. Albright gathered the students, his usual calm demeanor gone. He told them to pack only the essentials. They were leaving now. In the middle of the night, as they scrambled to grab their things, the chattering sound surrounded them, coming from multiple directions. It was like they were being herded. They followed Mr. Albright, single file, into the pitch-black forest, the beam of his flashlight cutting a weak path ahead. Behind them, they could hear heavy, deliberate footsteps snapping twigs, keeping pace with them just beyond the tree line. Every time they looked back, they saw nothing but darkness. But they could feel eyes on them. They walked for what felt like an eternity, the terrifying sounds never ceasing, until they stumbled upon an old, abandoned ranger station. The door was unlocked. They piled inside, barricading the door with a rusty metal desk. For the rest of the night, they huddled together, listening as the thing outside circled the cabin, scratching at the walls and whispering their names in that same distorted, horrifying voice. When dawn finally broke, the sounds were gone. They were rescued later that day by a park ranger who had been alerted by their abandoned campsite. No one could explain what they saw or heard. The official report cited mass hysteria induced by an animal encounter, but the students and Mr. Albright know the truth. They weren't alone in those woods. Next, we journeyed to the stark, beautiful, but unforgiving Australian outback. In 2005, a group of Year 10 students embarked on a cultural immersion trip to a remote Aboriginal community. Part of the trip involved a guided 3-day hike through a sacred, seldom-traveled region. Their guide, an elder named Ken, warned them from the start: respect the land, and the land will respect you. Do not take anything. Not a rock, not a flower. This place has memory. On the second day, a student named Liam, known for being a bit of a troublemaker, pocketed a smooth, unusually shaped black stone he found near a cave entrance, thinking it would make a cool souvenir. He didn't tell anyone. That night, things got strange. Liam woke up screaming, claiming something was holding him down, a crushing weight on his chest. The teachers checked him over. There was nothing there. They chalked it up to a nightmare, maybe dehydration. But the next day, Liam grew increasingly ill. He was disoriented, pale, and complained of seeing fleeting, shadowy figures darting at the edge of his vision. Ken, the guide, looked at him with knowing, worried eyes. He asked if anyone had taken something from the land. Liam, now terrified, confessed to taking the stone. Ken's face hardened. He explained that the stone was a marker, a sacred object from a place they should not have disturbed. Liam had shown disrespect, and now the spirits of the land were angry. They had to turn back immediately. As they began their trek back, the environment itself seemed to turn against them. The sky, cleared just moments before, darkened with storm clouds. Sudden violent wind whipped through the canyons, tearing at their gear. The temperature plummeted. Liam's condition worsened. He became delirious, mumbling incoherently and pointing at empty spaces, his eyes wide with fear. Ken began performing a ritual, chanting and pleading with the spirits as he led them. It was a race against time. They finally made it back to the community's edge just as the sun was setting. Ken took the stone from Liam and, after a long ceremony, returned it to its rightful place. Almost instantly, Liam's delirium subsided. The strange weather cleared as if it had never happened. He had no memory of the last 24 hours, but the terror he felt was deeply ingrained. He learned a powerful lesson that day. Some places demand respect, and ignoring their warnings can have terrifying consequences. The land remembers. Our final story takes place on a remote, uninhabited island off the coast of Scotland, used for a university-level survival course in the late 1980s. The goal was for 15 students and 2 instructors to survive for a week with minimal supplies. The island was known for its harsh weather and rugged terrain, but it was also steeped in dark folklore. Locals on the mainland spoke of it being haunted, a place where the spirits of shipwrecked sailors and ancient clans lingered. The students, all rational-minded science majors, dismissed these as silly superstitions. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first couple of days were challenging but manageable. They built shelters, foraged for food, and felt a sense of accomplishment. But on the third night, a thick, unnatural fog rolled in from the sea, blanketing the entire island. It was so dense you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. With the fog came a chilling silence. The usual sounds of the ocean and the seabirds completely vanished. Then a new sound began, a low, mournful humming, like a chorus of voices that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The instructors tried to keep morale up, but even they were visibly shaken. Things escalated quickly. Students began experiencing shared hallucinations. They saw faint figures in the fog, standing silently on the shoreline, watching them. One student, named Chloe, swore she was woken up by a woman in old-fashioned clothing standing over her, whispering in Gaelic, before vanishing back into the mist. Their equipment started to malfunction. Compasses spun wildly, and their two-way radio, their only link to the mainland, crackled with static and strange, whispering voices before dying completely. They were trapped and isolated. The group started to splinter. Fear and paranoia took over. Arguments broke out over dwindling supplies. The constant, unnerving humming and the ghostly figures in the fog were pushing them to the brink of madness. On the fifth day, one of the instructors, a former military man named David, made a decision. They couldn't wait for their scheduled pickup. They had to try and signal for help. He took the only flare gun and a student volunteer, and they headed towards the island's highest point. They disappeared into the fog. The rest of the group waited, huddled in their makeshift camp, listening to the unending humming. David and the student never returned. The next morning, the fog lifted as suddenly as it had appeared. The world was silent again. Search parties, sent after they missed their scheduled radio check-in, found the remaining students huddled together, borderline catatonic. They searched the entire island for David and the other student. All they ever found was the discharged flare gun lying near the edge of a cliff. The two were never seen again. The surviving students could offer no rational explanation, only fragmented, terrified accounts of the fog, the humming, and the silent figures who watched from the shore. The island keeps its secrets, and some mysteries are not meant to be solved. From the haunted forests of America to the sacred lands of Australia and the misty, forgotten islands of Scotland, these stories serve as a chilling reminder that when we step into the wilderness, we are entering a world with its own ancient rules and unseen inhabitants. Sometimes the greatest horror isn't what you can see, but what you can't. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed these true horror stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more chilling content. Stay safe out there.